Hey there, everybody. It's Coach Michael here for an open class Monday. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a really nice weekend. And let's just jump right into it. I have a couple emails today I'm going to go through. And if anyone is wanting a question answered while they're watching, please submit it in our comments section here. And let's just jump right into the first question that we have. And that is from Sam. Okay, Sam says, I first want to tell you that what you're doing is great and it's great work and keep doing it. You got it, Sam. Absolutely. I'm following your channel. I have been following for a long time and made a lot of progress with my sleep, all thanks to you and Coach Daniel. I want to give you a glimpse of my sleep patterns these days. I sometimes sleep good 3 days in a row, and next night will be horrible with lots of hyperarousal, which you refer to as break in your teaching sometimes. That's the gas break model. Gas being the sleep drive that naturally builds, and break is all the things that kind of resist or get in the way of the sleep drive. So the hyperarousal is a common, one of the most common breaks. And sometimes this will happen every alternative day. I try to follow from your teachings to accept your anxiety, to accept anxiety about sleep, but unfortunately that is not working out for me. Do you have any techniques or tips on accepting anxiety? Thanks. Okay, so yes. So first thing is to understand that it's very common for someone who is working on their sleep to have that kind of that experience of a couple good nights and then a poor night, a couple good nights, poor night, that kind of thing. So that alternating back and forth is not unusual at all. So that's the first thing. As far as the anxiety, it's you can't really tell yourself to just, hey, accept this and then everything's great. I think maybe it's almost like the premise of the question, any tips on accepting anxiety might be more like any way to help with the understanding of anxiety. So the anxiety is something that the first thing is to understand it. Not necessarily, accept it and understand it kind of at the same time, I guess the best way to say it. So, understanding takes learning. And so learning about why the anxiety is happening is part of the first step. So acceptance, yes, but also understanding. When you understand anxiety, what drives it, how it's not really anything, it's not really like a thing in itself. It's just kind of a circumstance. Sleep is elusive sometimes. Now and then, maybe it's more of a regular thing, but that understanding of it is really where accepting it is possible, because you can't just fight it and say, okay, I have anxiety about my sleep, I'm just not going to think about it. That's not going to work. You are definitely going to be focused on it, and it's going to be really frustrating. So first thing, accepting it, but also at the same time really working on understanding it. Then I think acceptance becomes easier. And sleep is that, it's that paradox. It's like the more that the more that you understand it, the more that you're aware of your anxiety, or that you accept your anxiety, I should say, the less of a problem it becomes. Being awake at night is not a problem for anything other than a person being anxious about being awake, about not being okay with being awake. So again, it's sleep is that paradox that you have to kind of understand when you're working on your sleep. So that's what I would say. That was Sam, I believe, right? Yes. So I just think hang in there. The back and forth of some good nights and then a poor night, not unusual at all. Don't try to get into really deep figure it out mode when you have an occasional poor night of sleep. You don't want to really dive into all the things that you're worried about. So just understand that it's like that. I think I brought up the analogy a while back of kind of like working on your sleep and falling asleep is kind of like that airplane coming in for a landing. It's not going to be necessarily just a perfectly smooth kind of path. There's going to be some twists and turns, and hang in there. And with your change in your thinking that comes with understanding, you'll find that the brake side of the gas brake model is less of a thing, and sleep will improve. So hang in there. So glad you're following us, and I think you're really going to do just fine. Any other questions, please, of course, write back. And that's actually a good time now to bring up where a question can be asked. If you have a question you'd like us to address on our live stream, it's right here at the website, thesleepcoachschool.com. Right at the top, there's a link. You can click there and submit a question, and we will do our best to get to your question in one of our multiple live streams that we do during the week, or one of the Insomnia Insights or something like that. So it will get addressed. Just subscribe to the channel, you get a notification, and you won't miss out on anything. So feel free, of course, anyone, to submit a question at the top of the website at thesleepcoachschool.com. Okay, let's now go to our second and final email. This is a longer one. This is from Marton. Okay, now with this email, there's a lot of information here. So I put the questions right at the top. Marton has 2 questions about sleep. First, do you think what this email describes can be SFI? That's spontaneous fatal insomnia that a lot of people get worried about when they first develop insomnia. If no, how can I get out of this? This being the worry about it. So first things first, no medical advice. Okay, we said that multiple times, and we always will repeat it. Any concerns about your health, you need to address that with your doctor. But speaking generally, let's go through your email and see what we can glean out of the email that you write. Okay. Hi, I found your email address on your YouTube channel. First of all, your channel is amazing from every aspect. It's super informative, and the way how you share serious information is amazing. Absolutely, you're more than welcome. We're very happy to do this. We're really into this stuff. My story in a nutshell: 4 days ago, I had a struggle to fall asleep. I was able to start sleep around 1:30 a.m. and sleep till 7:30. Woke up for the alarm. Let me get the email back. I thought it was maybe there. There we go. Okay. 4 days ago, struggled with falling asleep. Able to start sleep around 1, slept until 7:30, 1:30 to 7:30, excuse me. Woke up for the alarm. I guess that doesn't bad or wrong at all, but it was noticeable that it took 1.5 hours to fall asleep, which is very unusual. This is about 6 hours of sleep, good sleep. Next day, hard to fall asleep again. I was able to sleep about 6 hours again. I have to admit that on the second night, it was really in my mind in the previous night, and I probably was thinking too much about it. This was the point where I made the biggest mistake, which we'll get to in just 1 second. I do want to point out what I'm highlighting here in bold, and that is time. So a lot of time monitoring, whether it's specifically during the night or how many days insomnia has been a problem. That's the first thing. The second thing is, please understand this right here. The 4 days ago, this is a very recent onset of insomnia. So that actually is going to play into the answer to your question about if this could be SFI. Okay, so a lot of time monitoring there. I just want to point that out. Now, made the biggest mistake. Okay, started Googling symptoms and reasons. Obviously, I found others, hundreds of others, reasons, which vast majority are completely harmless. But as humans work, I ended up with this SFI, FFI thing, fatal familial, spontaneous familial. Since that, my brain cannot stop thinking about that. And the thought that I will die soon takes 99% of the time I spend awake. I should have bolded that one too. Yes. Okay. So what are we talking about here? Googling symptoms. The rabbit hole, the internet rabbit hole is a deep one. Please, please, please do everything you can not to go down the symptom, scary symptom rabbit hole with insomnia, because a lot of things, a bunch of things have associated with it poor sleep. a bunch of health conditions. But as we pointed out on this channel many times, poor sleep doesn't cause anything. It's just associated with all kinds of things, health-wise. But when you're talking about this SFI, fatal from the FFI, it's so rare. It's almost impossible to even have, just talk about it logically, because it would be sort of like, well, I can't really come up with an example right now, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I just want to comment on going down the Google searching, internet searching about insomnia. You're going to get into all kinds of scary sounding things, which are simply that, scary sounding. Usually they want you to click on something, and you don't want to go there. So the fact that you cannot stop thinking about it, yeah, because it's scary what you will read in these internet rabbit holes. So please, please, please do the best you can to stay out of those. But to continue the story, next night I was able to sleep relatively fast, 10, 15 minutes, and I was sleeping for 9 hours, completely rested. I'm using Apple Watch and sleep trackers. It says about 6 hours of this was spent in deep, restful sleep. Okay, that's good. Sounds like kind of turned the corner there. Be careful about the tracking. A lot of time estimations and time monitoring and this kind of stuff. When you're struggling with insomnia, that's one thing that usually doesn't help. It usually makes things worse. Too much focus on sleep. The horror started last night. Even before I went to bed, I was scared, terrified of the thought that I have to sleep. What if I have SFI and cannot? What if this is the first sign I will die soon? I think you know the pattern of these thoughts pretty well. Okay, yes, it's common. People develop insomnia, they start searching about it, and then they get into this SFI and FFI, and it really, really doesn't help. So again, get your information from quality sources. Be careful about the internet. So I push back and back and back the time when I go to sleep. I tried to start sleep around 2:15 a.m. Quick comment there. Can't force sleep. That's another big message in the school that we've talked about, is, you can't initiate sleep willfully. So when you try, sleep gets more elusive. So be careful about that. So you tried to start sleep later. I was so anxious and worried that soon as my head reached the pillow, my heart was racing. I cannot think of anything else, but I will die soon. SFI. I was able to sleep about 4.5 hours from 5 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Okay, more about the tracking there. Okay, so it doesn't help to track. It just puts too much focus on sleep. So I'm so worried and anxious that I don't feel tired at all. I'm very scared about the next night. The real scary thing is that as I Google more and more of this, I found more and more people who claim they have this terrible disease. To be honest, I think many of them don't have it. Okay, now you're getting back into like realistic thinking here. This is good. I think many of them don't have it. You're exactly right. They don't. As you can find more of them in a single YouTube video comment section, what the confirmed cases were in history, which is, I think, less than 25 in recorded history of SFI or FFI. I had a couple of days about 7 months ago where the same thing happened, but it came and went away. Okay, so you are exactly right. You will find so many people that claim that they have it. They're really sure they have it, and they don't. It's such a rare condition. It's just so unlikely that anyone has this. You just have to keep that in context. Okay, it's sort of like if someone had a pain in their side or something. You don't immediately jump to, oh, it could be like a tumor or something like that. It's more like, what did you eat? Are you stressed? Anxiety can cause almost any symptom. So there's so many things that commonly rule out conditions. You want to take it really logically, really rationally. And when sleep is disrupted, it can, thinking rationally can sometimes be more challenging. So just do your best with that. Some additional info. I'm a male, 40 years old. My family has no stories about any sleeping issues or any prion or genetic related diseases. For you who don't know that SFI or FFI, the very few cases that have ever been documented have been confirmed post-mortem through autopsy when they can actually test the brain for this prion disease. The only pills I take regularly is for my high blood pressure. So besides this last night, everything is perfect except one thing. I have depression and extreme stress due to my work. Okay, really common. Now we're talking really common situations that can be disruptive for sleep. So it's good that you recognize those. Like my mother, I'm a hypochondriac too, even for the lightest symptoms. I visualize the most terrifying deaths within weeks or months, and I make the same mistake again and again. I open Google, and it opens the gate for the most terrifying things: SFI, cancer, tumors, prion, deadly viruses, Parkinson's disease, etc., etc. Yes, it does. And first things first, I'm really glad that you recognize that. So that is not your source for your health. It is your doctor. And the fact that you have some uh, hypochondriac tendencies here is kind of in that like 3P model where we talk about a person being a bit predisposed. So you have kind of a predisposition to insomnia. So then here are the questions that I put at the very top of this email. You also come in, you have a couple, 2 children, 8 and 2. Since we have them, I feel more and more depression because I fear that I will die soon. This feeling lasts for 6 to 7 years now. I refuse so far to use any medication for the condition, but I have a feeling that I cannot fight this battle alone anymore. But I also fear that once I start to use them, I won't be able to stop them. Many thanks for your help in advance. Okay, a lot of information there. I want to go back to right there, 4 days ago. Okay, so it sounds like maybe in the distant past you had some issues, but it sounds like this main one started recently. So that, if you read the few cases there are about SFI or FFI, it's clearly like a neurological progression that's happening. With motor issues and balance issues, and really, pretty clear cognitive decline that doesn't suddenly like go away for a few years and then come back, and the onset that quickly and all that. That's not how it's described. I do want to point out, I think at this point, there's a playlist that we have on our channel. If you go to the description in our YouTube channel here, there's a playlist. There's multiple playlists, and one is on SFI and FFI. So I encourage you to check it out. And specifically, as I think there's 6, maybe 5, 6 videos in there. One of them is the interview with Casper, and he talks about his mother who actually was diagnosed, who passed away, diagnosed with FFI, I believe it was. Read it or listen to a story. It's just a great interview that Coach Daniel did with him, and it explains so much. That's kind of my go-to with questions about that. So, anyways, I encourage you to do that. Understand that this is a very recent thing with your sleep. I think you have a lot of predispositions. You're doing a lot of time checking. These are things that you can kind of work on. Education is key. Learn about insomnia, learn how it develops, learn about sleep-related anxiety, the gas break model, all of the things we talk about in the school. Go to the website and start checking out videos there. And if you want to really make insomnia a thing of the past, then maybe consider coming into the self-coaching program. We have a great community of students there, and they're really helping each other, and we're coaching, and it's really a great community. So you and anyone else, please check it out. Okay, let me see if there is anything else. So those are the only 2 questions I had from the emails. I kind of did a long broadcast the last week, so I might keep this one a little bit shorter. I do want to talk about one other thing. And that is, I was talking to Coach Daniel about this last week. I was working with a client, and the idea came to my mind. I just want to briefly share it about, like, when you're awake, when you want something to happen, if you're in a tough situation, I should say, and you're really trying to persevere, you're trying to complete a task, whatever it is, usually it involves something that we call willpower, right? People they display willpower, like maybe it's physical willpower, like they're trying to lift something heavy up a flight of stairs or something, and they just don't know if they can do it, and they just summon this willpower. Or maybe they're out in the cold and they're not dressed warm enough for a little bit, and they're kind of just, they don't know how they're gonna like get home on their walk, and they use willpower. So this term like willpower, it's kind of very ingrained um, with waking life. And so when insomnia happens, when sleep becomes a problem, what most people do is they conjure up willpower. They try to will themselves to sleep or back to sleep because that's what they're used to doing while they're awake. And willpower is kind of, it's like, it's not an external thing, right? It's not like, oh, I'm not sleeping well, so I'm going to try this supplement, or I'm going to try that gadget, or I'm going to, do something like that. It's more like you just tell yourself, I'm just going to get through this. I'm going to just tough it out. I'm going to get through this insomnia. I'm going to just use all this willpower. Well, that actually takes you in the opposite direction. So, sleep being the big paradox, I just like to point that out. That phrase kind of came to mind when I was talking to a client about their sleep, and how common it is when we're awake to use that phrase. So be careful that you're not trying to employ willpower to make yourself sleep, because nothing makes you sleep. There isn't nothing. Natural sleep in no way can be forced. You can't make it happen. You can end sleep, alarm clock, someone shaking you, hey, time to get up, that kind of stuff, but not falling asleep. It's completely different. I think it was Neil, one of our subscribers here on the channel. I think he was the one who said, it's funny that we use the phrase "we fall asleep." Falling implies like lack of control. It's not just that you move into like a supine position or something. It's like you're falling. When somebody's falling or something is falling, usually it implies there's nothing. There's nothing controlling it. It's just like this momentary or whatever kind of out of control state. Well, falling asleep is like that. It is falling asleep. You don't say, I'm going to go make myself sleep now, but you do say, I'm going to wake myself up at whatever o'clock. So just be careful and kind of how you approach sleep, and falling asleep is completely passive. And the more you know about that, about sleep in general, about insomnia, how insomnia develops, how it keeps going, these factors that kind of keep driving insomnia when someone develops it, the more you know about those, then the less they're a problem. The less it's like that's the key. Learning about how that happens is the key to making insomnia go away. And so you just have to, when I'm reading emails or I'm talking to a client, I'm really listening for effort. I'm listening for those things and often effort is kind of like a belief. Back to this, finishing up with this willpower idea. I just kind of like pick up on, do they kind of think that they can make themselves sleep? And I'm very sensitive for listening to that kind of language when I'm talking to a client. So you can do that yourself. Be careful of how you're thinking about your sleep, how you talk about it. Don't give it any kind of ability to control it. Don't make yourself think that you can, because you can't. So that, I hope, is a little wrap up on today. I'm just going to leave it at this. End of the year, shortest day of the year, I think it is today here in the northern hemisphere. I guess it is, right? And everyone who's struggling with their sleep, hang in there. One of my favorite phrases is, you're going to sleep every night of your life, so there's no hurry. So what I mean by that is, just keep sleep in perspective. Just keep it in perspective. It's a natural process. Usually it's things that we do that get in the way of making it happen naturally, that are the problem, because there isn't a thing that we can do, but there's an infinite number of things, usually thought patterns, that get in the way of this very natural process. So hang in there. And I will be back on later in the week, I think, with Coach Daniel, possibly. So we'll see. And he'll be on a couple times this week, I'm sure, with maybe a live stream and maybe an insight class. And so we'll just go from there. Again, back to finish with questions. Here's the link. If you want to submit a question, there is your link right there, thesleepcoachschool.com. At the top, there's a link and you can submit a question. And we love getting questions. So thank you all for watching and have a great week. And I will see you later. Bye-bye.